So thank you for watching Portrait of a Girl as a Young Cat, the 20th anniversary
Yeah.
of when it showed at South by Southwest. Um, but we shot it in over the summer of 1997 and into the fall of 97. And then, gosh, edited for a while and worked on the voiceover. The voiceover was the hardest thing I had to do. Okay, so we have some questions that came in from Michelle. Thank you, Michelle, for these questions. And it says, she asked, she said, I'm really curious to hear about how you came to the themes in the film. How did they relate to what you were like at the time? So, the themes of the film, let's see, I was in my early 30s when we shot it, so I was really looking back on my 20s, those fun-filled years, which, if you follow the Colette quote, you will make mistakes, but do them with enthusiasm. You will enjoy those youthful years. And I think I was really interested in the idea of a portrait. So it was not a story that was linear, more different aspects of this young girl. And I really need a good title. So every morning when I would wake up to start writing, I was living in Austin at the time, Texas, I just thought of the title. Every day I had to write towards the title, Portrait of a Girl as a Young Cat, and what that meant. And of course it was very personal because that was me living with my two cats, Jake and Raoul. And I was very inspired by the Manet painting of the girl at the bar, the barmaid. So you see her front, the persona that greets customers in the world. But I was also interested in this, her shadow side, the side that people don't see. So I sort of was creating Mimi in sort of this pendulum, like going out into the world in pursuit of her desire, but then we would see this side of her once she got back home, and when her desires didn't meet her expectations, or as it said on as she says in the film, why is the world never as great as my clothes? Which, that's the essence of a party girl. Holly Golightly, very much inspired by Breakfast at Tiffany's, Godard's Viva Sa Vie, My Life to Live, Lola by Jacques Demy, any films that just captured a woman in all her complexities, and like the Oscar Wilde quote, every woman is a rebel and usually in wild revolt against herself. So those were some of the themes I really thought about. I was also influenced by French decadent literature, and that's where the Swinburne poem comes from, that Mimi is inspired by her friend J.K. So those were all my friends in the film.
Yeah. Hyde was the best.
Hyde was the best. Holly McQueenie. And in fact, I think Michelle has a question about Holly McQueenie. Can you say anything about the fun dance scene in the theater? Who choreographed it and how did it come about? So originally we shot that scene in the backyard of a restaurant where Holly was like going to decorate the restaurant, and it was super boring and awful. Also, something you have to realize, there was really no script with Portrait, which I will never do again, as God is my witness. It was just loose set pieces. I mean, we would work it up and kind of have an idea what we were going to say. It wasn't a lot of ad-lib. Although,
all I remember distinctly is going down there and, making this film. It was just me and Katie, mostly. We borrowed an audio recorder and borrowed some lights, and I had sent my camera down. I was living in New York. So I came down with my camera and moved in with Katie. And
it was our courtship.
Yeah, and we started shooting. And the first stuff we did was the easiest for her, which was all of Mimi's downtime, which meant that it was all these shots of Katie just sitting around doing nothing.
And I wore the same outfit, the white t-shirt, black pants, because I wasn't sure how it was where I was gonna put it in the story. Yeah. So,
and there was no dialogue because she thought, well, there would be a voiceover carrying all of these moments. And I don't know, after 3 or 4 days of shooting all these things in her apartment, I kind of lost it. I was like, this is the most boring,
it's very boring.
What the hell are we doing?
Yeah.
And I don't understand
No,
this
but
at
that
all.
summer we had everybody. We had the whole crew together.
Yeah, but the first stuff we did was all just you.
Right. So I was working. I was figuring it out as we shot, and this can only. I only recommend that kind of filming if it's a 2-person crew. And
then shooting your cats, and then it was
and then
a lot
shooting
of
the
time.
cats.
I spent a lot of time
Raul
filming
and Jake.
the cats. Yeah.
One
And then we got
time we had to give Jake or Raul both Kitty Xanax to calm them down.
Yeah. One of them always wanted to be in the film, and one of them never wanted.
I can't remember which one did.
Yeah.
However, let's get back to Michelle's question about Holly McQueenie. So we shot this super boring, awful scene in the backyard, and it didn't work. So again, because it was just such a small crew, it's just us, I had time to really think about what we wanted, what I was really after in that scene with Mimi. So we filmed that in the fall of '97. And so I worked with the actor, my friend Hyde Fontenot, who was also the production designer on the film. Everyone did double duty. And we came up with this idea that Mimi, see, it's better to act it than tell it, wants to meet a sailor, so it's going to be part of this whole scene that she has to express to this film director, or theater director, Holly McQueenie. And we had Johnny and Chris do the, what's that dance called?
The Apache dance.
The Apache dance. And it was based on an I Love Lucy episode. And so, yeah, we got the Roxy Theater on 6th Street in Austin.
The Ritz.
Oh, no, the Ritz. The Ritz Theater in Austin. And he was working up his play. What was the name of his play? Mm-hmm. Yeah, anyway, and Hyde stole the show. He's so great. Yeah. And then he's so great when I go to get him at his apartment. Now, that was shot in Beaumont, Texas, which is where I'm from. And that's the Mildred Apartments. They're just my favorite place and my favorite structure in Beaumont. So beautiful. So, yeah, he had to get his special pill. He was hungover.
And that scene at the Ritz was really the only thing we did that was a classically covered scene.
Right. Yeah, you were good
it's like
with that.
It's like a real movie.
It's like a real movie.
Yeah,
yeah, that's true.
It was really the best executed thing we did because there were multiple characters.
Well, and because it was scripted.
It was scripted.
I learned my lesson.
And I could do some lighting in there.
Yeah, it was great.
Someone must have been helping us.
Can you smell it now?
Yeah.
I want to meet a sailor.
Next question.
Love sailors. Sailors in movies. Was that your fabulous clothing? Yes, I worked with, those were all pieces that I found at the Goodwill in Austin, other thrift stores. Um, I had, prior to this, in 1995, 96, I had done a clothing line with a really good friend of mine, Pat Barbie, and the whole line was leopard. So I used a lot of pieces from the Pat Barbie line, and Pat helped me with my clothes. But yeah, that was
a lot of the clothes were black and white.
Black and white, shooting black and white. We shot black and white film, not video.
That's pretty obvious.
Ilford, which was so beautiful. It was a really
but it was
beautiful
flawed. Some of the rolls of film, the perforations in the film,
that's right,
were improperly manufactured. So some rolls of film would periodically, they'd vibrate through the gate of the camera. There was one roll of film that had one of the best looking shots I did. It was in Mimi's upstairs room, and it was supposed to be like a stormy night. And we had put a light on the roof of a house next door.
Yes.
And we had someone waving branches as shadows. Then you go up the stairs, and there are all these dark shadows on the cathedral ceiling.
That's right. Oh, that didn't.
And you run and hide, and it was completely unusable.
Forgot about that.
Very sad. And there were some other shots on there too. But
I forgot about that.
Generally, it kind of held up. And then the camera I was using was a 25-year-old camera.
What kind of camera was it?
That was the Eclair.
The Eclair, 16 millimeter Eclair.
The original.
Shout out.
The original kind of documentary camera.
Yeah.
That everyone used.
Okay, Michelle has another question. Your character and the Holly McQueenie character seem like such natural friends. Were you friends with the actor? Yes, Hyde Fontenot. Close, dear friend. Love him.
He's an artist.
He's an artist. He's originally from Louisiana. Artist in Austin. He graduated from UT.
He runs big thing in Dallas now, right?
Yeah, I think he moved to Tulsa.
Oh.
He's in Oklahoma. Or maybe he's back in Texas.
Yeah.
Hyde was great. Great to work with. Caroline Tinkle, another good friend of mine. Played my best friend who was going to Morocco, and she was going to Morocco the next day. Duncan. That's Caroline's middle name. Caroline Duncan Tinkle. So, and then Gary Price, another very good friend of mine, lives in Austin. He's an artist and carpenter and brilliant, and he plays DK, right? Or
JK.
JK, his name is J.K., named after J.K. Huysmans, who wrote this sort of decadent Bible against nature, which inspired Oscar Wilde and inspired all the decadent writers and poets. Okay. Any other
questions?
Well, just fun stories.
Well, what are you
doing? And that's my dad in Beaumont reciting the poem at the port of Beaumont. That was his favorite poem. Little toy dog is covered with such a sad poem. I hated when he recited it. That's why I thought I'd put it in the movie.
I mean, the big thing about the film for me is that it was we shot all this stuff, and it was more or less modular because you didn't know how you were going to structure it.
Right.
There were certain things you did, like when she builds the tent in her room.
Right,
and
right.
You knew, and it was all about her going out into the world with big energy and then having things not work out and then retreating to regroup.
Right.
So it was this up and down kind of emotional structure, but it really was all it didn't come together until you spent months. When we would edit, we would kind of string things out, which in a lot of cases was completely silent imagery. And then you just sat with it for weeks, and you would think, and you would slowly write things out.
Mm-hmm.
Then we'd go back in and edit and record a scratch track, and we'd put it on, and we'd look at more, and then you'd sit with it longer. And
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it really, and then by the time it found its final structure, I remember being so impressed by what you had done that it really worked, you know.
Well, I do have to say, they always talk about the third act, if anything's going to bring sweat and blood and tears out of yourself, is creating those last 20 minutes of the film. Well, I felt that way with the voiceover. Where to put it, it was like composing a symphony. It was like working in music or something, because you don't want to telegraph, you don't want to say too much, but then you want to say enough to keep the story going, but also kind of, you know, it's not what's said too, and where to place it in the story. It was very difficult, and Lavinia does such a great job. For so long, I wanted an Auntie Mame type Rosalind Russell, and I kept recording all these older women actresses, and it just wasn't doing
my
it.
idea to do a drag queen?
I think it was your idea to do a drag queen. So Lavinia,
she was
well,
apparently really notorious.
Hyde's good friend who lived in the city, we talked to, I think his name was Todd, and he recommended Lavinia.
Yeah, who turned out to be this really infamous drag
queen. Yeah.
Friends with Quentin Crisp.
Yeah. Amazing. He was amazing. He just
really
got it.
Totally got it.
I mean, he read it, and it's just funny how things you just got to keep persevering and just not be okay with just average. You got to really, I mean, Kubrick says this, that you just really have to feel your way through it. It's such a gut instinct, and it just, for so long I was like, this is going to be, this is so hard. So our courtship was making Portrait, and after we shot it all, we thought, well, that was fun. Let's get married.
Yeah.
So we got married in the summer of 1998, and all our cast and crew was pretty much there in Beaumont. And then we started editing. So thank God we were married in the editing room.
We probably started editing by then.
I don't know.
There was a lot of fighting in the editing room.
A lot of fighting in the editing room. No fighting in the war room. But there was a lot of fighting in the editing room.
But, and again, because
there was no script.
It was like, well, here's another long shot where nothing's
happening. Where nothing's happening. I mean, how much can a viewer watch that? And for the longest time, it hovered around 70 to 80 minutes. And then I remember you and I took a big break from it, did something, and then came back to it, and we just cut it all, and it went to 60 minutes, which was kind of a bummer because it became then a featurette and not a feature.
It was too short for film festivals to run as a feature.
Yeah, so that was problematic, but it just worked at 60 minutes.
It was too long.
Yeah.
But longer than that, it wasn't sustaining.
Right.
It was dragging.
Right.
The other thing is the music. Really,
Dan Lubell.
Got really lucky with.
Yeah, Dan, we were able, I would tell him, send him music by Nina Rota or Michel Legrand. So, the bar wasn't too high.
He was really young. Dan was the younger brother of our good friend Peter Lubell. And Dan was maybe just out of college at that point.
And we would just hand him little scenes and just say, put something here, put something here.
And he recorded it all in their parents' apartment on the Upper West Side.
Yeah, he did a great job.
Great, just completely gave it a whole other dimension.
Yeah, he did.
Job.
He did. And
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of anything. So it premiered at South by Southwest in 2000, and I got pregnant.
Yeah.
We had Lula. She hates when I tell that story.
Yeah.
So then I became a stay-at-home filmmaker. So yeah, it did the festival circuit, but
It's sad though, it didn't really play at too many festivals. I think we had missed this window where that kind of film as a small, you know, they didn't have the expression DIY, but as this small little, you know, 16 millimeter for one, black and white,
yeah,
all these strikes against it. It was too short. There were no stars. By that time, film festivals
wanted stars.
were really looking to, you know,
it was in
these big things.
Well, it had become Indiewood. So the Slacker world that I had started out in, working on Slacker and Eagle Pinnell's, who did Last Night at the Alamo, and just these black and white,
and it all changed.
No stars. It completely changed by 2000.
And we'd hear from some film festivals, oh, will you send us your film? We heard from Sundance that it was really, but Sundance rejected it.
Yeah.
But apparently they said, you know, they told people, well, you should look at it.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks a lot. So, yeah, so that was really disappointing.
But the people that did see it
loved it.
I mean, I could not believe some of the responses you got. Some people, women in particular.
Oh, this one woman came up to me after the... This one woman came up to me after the Memphis Film Festival and said, I love your film, and it's made me decide to leave my husband. Well, if I could, my work here is done.
What greater tribute.
Yeah. But it was a still weird time to be a female filmmaker. I mean, I hate to talk about in those terms, but we were at a festival and with Lula. Lula was, I don't know, 3 months old. And we were supposed to be picked up at the airport. And we weren't. And apparently it was because whoever they sent to pick us up didn't see anyone who looked like a filmmaker. They just saw a woman with a baby. So
I didn't remember that.
Yeah, I did. So they didn't. So we had to catch a cab. But anyway, 2000. It was 2001. It's really interesting. And it's also, I didn't get into any women's film festivals either, because they also had kind of more of a political agenda. They wanted gritty, political. They didn't want to see this portrait of a
I think that was also true.
Party girl.
That was also true in general. People, because it had this comedic vibe to it, and I think particularly because it has that tone up front, that people maybe never even got past the first 10 minutes. They thought, oh, well, this is just going to be silly.
Yeah.
And the weight of it doesn't come until you're into it a little bit.
Yeah.
So
I was influenced by Young Girls of Rochefort.
Yeah.
I can't help it.
Yeah. Sweet movie. And I'm glad I finally had it digitized. I mean, we didn't have... There was initially a video copy, a DVD, but I didn't have it in high definition. I sent the print off just like a couple of years ago and had it retransferred.
Yeah.
And then I spent a lot of time on the computer tweaking the image to get it to look better, getting rid of some of the grain.
Honey.
It looks really good.
But that was my apartment where I lived. I did work in a bakery. That's the bakery I worked in, Swedish Hill. I had been a location scout and manager, and when you worked on films, other people's films, that's all you could do. And it was very feast or famine. So when I decided after making a bunch of shorts that I was ready for something longer, to tell a longer story, I got out of the business and got a job at the bakery, which was 3 blocks from my house, in Clarksville in Austin.
And I must have met you just after that.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I was, it was perfect. I would get up, write, and then go to the bakery, put on an apron, and dole out not very good cappuccinos because of the way I made them. And that's where I just started developing the idea of Mimi, which Mimi is même in French, which means same, and she's just doing the same thing over and over again. So
it's very deep.
Very deep.
It really is. That's what didn't hit me until it was finished. You know.
Yeah, it is.
I don't know.
It's as deep as
it's really good.
Chasing after a sailor.
Yeah, well. All right.
Anything else? Cats? Leopard? Why is the world never as great as my clothes? I made the decision, no phones, no cars. Didn't want any of that. I wanted
eating.
no eating. I wanted a very timeless film. I didn't want anything that recognizable. Although Austin has changed so much, so many of those landmarks are gone. But she's an aesthete. She's a female dandy. She wants the world a certain way, and that's the struggle. She's a portrait of a girl as a young cat.
Yes.
So, well, this has been fun.
And how cute were you?
Aw, honey, that's so nice. So, thank you so much for listening to our Q&A, watching the film. This has been really fun.
Right.
And, of course, everybody can get in touch with me via email if you have any other questions. All right.
Bye-bye.
Stay safe, everybody, until we can be